I'm sorry for taking it, but I've always been the chosen one. You're just the supporting role, aren't you? Marrying such a beautiful woman makes me a winner, too. At least we'll invite you to our wedding." The two of them smirked, barely holding back their laughter as they belittled me. Why am I the one being treated like this? I haven't done anything wrong, but I can't just keep crying. I swear I'll make them regret this. I'm Olivia. I'm 25 years old and absolutely love food. Recently, I got engaged to Noah, my senior at work and boyfriend. And people keep saying how great my life seems to be going. Sure, having a steady job and saving money while also planning a wedding feels like a stroke of luck. But, Olivia, eating again. No wonder you're gaining so much weight. Look at other girls your age. What? But Noah, you always said you liked how much I enjoyed eating. Well, yay. But come on, a 25-year-old woman who doesn't care about her appearance. That's just sad. Since the engagement, his attitude has completely changed. Now, even eating a normal meal makes him criticize my body. Noah, who's 3 years older than me, had always felt approachable as a senior when I first started working. I loved how I could talk to him about all my favorite foods. But now, look at Amelia, your friend. She's like a doll, gorgeous, slim, and practically a model. Amelia. Well, Amelia is my childhood friend, the same age as me. She's always been known for her beauty, and I've never once seen her overeat or gain weight. Olivia, before you start talking about having a wedding, maybe you should try to slim down a bit like her. Noah, why do you keep telling me to lose weight lately? I've always been this size since we met, and you used to say you liked that I wasn't too skinny. It's not sudden. I'm just worried about a young, vibrant 25-year-old looking so chubby. You've got a great personality, sure, but you barely wear makeup, and your outfits are so random. Why can't you take care of yourself more, like Amelia does? Amelia. Amelia. You keep mentioning her name. Isn't that a little weird? Is there something going on? What? No way. What are you even talking about? You're acting crazy. This is ridiculous. I'm leaving. I only expressed a slight suspicion, but Noah suddenly got furious and stormed off, leaving our date midway. What? What just happened? Noah's been so emotionally unstable lately. Maybe it's cold feet about the wedding. At this point, Noah and I were officially engaged, and we'd even introduced each other to our parents. We hadn't gotten an engagement ring yet, but we'd planned to pick one out along with our wedding bands, and that was supposed to happen today. There were still so many things to discuss, like the wedding, our new home, and work. If he's already having cold feet, it doesn't bode well for the future. At least, that's what I naively thought back then. Hey, Olivia, isn't this wedding dress a bit much? Off-shoulder styles just don't suit you. Don't you think so, Amelia? Olivia should go for something simpler. She's trying way too hard. The ones laughing at the wedding catalog I'd received from the venue's partner dress shop were none other than my fiancé Noah and my childhood friend Amelia. While we were at my house discussing wedding plans, Amelia somehow barged in and started laughing at the materials for our wedding. But I mean, a wedding dress is something you only get to wear once in your life, so it's natural to want to go all out. I said this, but they both scoffed at the same time. Well, that's fine if it's someone like Amelia, who's practically model-level gorgeous. But Olivia, she's got a plain face, plus her body is. Noah, stop it. She's just dreaming, right? She probably thinks she'll magically look beautiful just because she's a bride. Seriously, that's not good. You've got to know what suits you. Honestly, it's embarrassing when people who haven't made any effort start dreaming big and then show up in some ridiculous dress. Oh, you're on that list too, Olivia. Better be careful. They were perfectly in sync. I was so stunned by their words that I froze. I had no intention of crying, but tears welled up in my eyes anyway. What are you tearing up? It's just a joke. Don't ruin the mood. A girl who can't take a joke is the worst, right? She takes everything so seriously. Olivia, being too serious isn't fun at all. She hasn't changed a bit. Olivia's always been like this. I've been telling her forever, know your place. Amelia has always hovered around me for some reason, saying things like, "You're not pretty, Olivia," or "Don't try to be like me." And I, for some reason, have always put up with it just because we've known each other since we were kids. But for Noah to not defend me and worse, join in laughing at me. In the end, Amelia stayed at my house all day, and we didn't get to talk about the wedding at all. Even after they left, I felt depressed and couldn't shake the frustration. Monday rolled around. I went to work with a firm resolution in my heart. Amelia sighed. Noah's recent behavior is unacceptable. Joke or not, I need to tell him to stop looking down on me. I was still unable to get over what happened the day Amelia barged in, ruining our discussion. On top of that, Noah had been constantly making snide remarks about my body lately. It was too much to ignore. I decided to confront him directly after work, maybe over dinner, and seriously talk about how I felt. But when I arrived at the office, there was a buzz of chatter. What's going on? Hey. As soon as I walked in, a senior colleague grabbed my sleeve and pulled me to the back of the office. You didn't hear? Everyone's freaking out because of this sudden news. What are you talking about? Wait, you really don't know anything. The senior, looking flustered, shared the shocking news with me. What? Noah quit, and he used a resignation service. I was so shocked I almost collapsed. I even thought it might be a dream. After all, I was about to marry him, and he hadn't told me anything. I didn't even know he was planning to quit. Since the company already knew about our upcoming wedding, my boss called me in and asked if I knew why Noel was resigning, but I could only hang my head and say I didn't know. That day at work was pure hell. His sudden disappearance caused chaos at the office as his tasks were divided among the employees. Adding to that, I had to deal with the shock of my fiancé quitting his job without telling me. On top of it all, I felt like everyone around me was watching me, making it impossible to focus. During my barely managed lunch break, I tried calling him, but he didn't answer. Even when I sent him messages, they remained unread. I somehow made it through the workday and returned home much later than usual. Oh, Noah. My phone screen lit up with a notification of a message from Noah. Relieved, I thought maybe today's events were just a misunderstanding. Somewhere in my heart, I still believed that what had happened today had been some kind of mistake, but that hope was shattered as soon as I read his message. Noah's message was short and brutal. I'm not marrying you, Olivia. I've quit my job, and I'm disappearing. Don't bother asking my parents. They don't know anything. Goodbye forever. I sank onto the silent room's floor, overwhelmed with despair. What does this even mean? Desperately, I tried to think of someone outside of work who knew both Noah and me. Naturally, I thought of consulting my parents, but maybe Amelia knows something. Amelia was the only person, apart from family or colleagues, who had a direct connection to both Noah and me. Hoping she might have some clue about Noah's sudden disappearance, I called her repeatedly, but no matter how many times I called, she never picked up. I even tried calling her parents' house, only to be curtly told that Amelia had instructed them not to discuss anything with me. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. What had I done to deserve this? My fiancé and childhood friend, two of the closest people to me, had vanished from my life. I was so confused that I couldn't even cry. And for the next few months, I had no memory of how I managed to work or keep my life together. 2 years had passed since Noah disappeared, and Amelia cut me off. It felt like both a long time and a blink of an eye. Maybe I should take a break now. After everything that happened, I left the workplace where I had met Noah. I now work as a freelancer and have finally found stability in my life, but I still have goals and dreams I want to achieve. So I keep myself busy every day. Oh, there's a message. Wait. No way. During a break from work, I checked my phone and found a single unread message. When I saw the sender's name, I froze in shock. It was Amelia, the same Amelia who had disappeared 2 years ago. After rejecting me so completely, what could she possibly want now? Nervously, I opened the message. Instead of text, it was a video. Curiosity got the better of me, and I pressed play. The screen lit up with a smiling Amelia, and next to her was Noah. Hey, Olivia, surprised I disappeared on you. Bet it was a shock, huh? Maybe you've been sulking at home all this time. Come on, if she's been sulking, she's probably gained weight. Her figure must be in real trouble by now. Oh, but maybe what we're about to say will shock her into losing all that weight. I couldn't quite grasp the situation, and could only keep watching the video of Noah and Amelia huddled together, struggling to contain their laughter. In the video, the two of them suddenly said, "Ready, set, go," and started speaking at the same time. Actually, Noah and I are getting married. What? I forgot it was just a video and instinctively shouted. Of course, the two in the video paid no mind to my confusion and continued talking without a care. 2 years ago, Noah told me he wanted to date me seriously instead of Olivia, so we both switched jobs to work for a health food company. We're still happily working there together. Well, you wouldn't even recognize the company's name. You never cared about health anyway. I've known you for a long time, and taking Noah away from you was a really hard decision. I'm sure you'll be furious with jealousy. I just wanted to protect Amelia from Olivia. That's why, 2 years ago, I decided to cut ties with her. Amelia and I even moved out of state and changed jobs for each other. That's how deep our love is, you know. So, Olivia, don't hate me for being beautiful. I've always been the one chosen, ever since we were kids. My winning life was decided from the moment I was born, after all. And being able to love someone like Amelia makes me a winner too. Now that it's been 2 years, and you must have calmed down, we thought we'd invite her to our wedding. As my childhood friend, you get to see me in my gorgeous wedding dress. Isn't that exciting? Oh, but don't eat too much at the reception. Okay. Anyway, see you at the wedding. Make sure to enjoy it. After saying whatever they pleased, Noah and Amelia burst into laughter and stopped the recording. Just like 2 years ago, when Noah disappeared and Amelia cut off all contact with me, I was left stunned. I can't say I never imagined it, but I never thought they'd actually be sneaking around behind my back like this. And it wasn't even sneaky, it was blatantly cruel. Why, after 2 years, do I have to be humiliated all over again? I haven't done anything to them. Before I could cry, a searing anger welled up from the pit of my stomach. Why did I ever get involved with people like them? Amelia always looked down on me, only using me to make herself look better. And Noah, the moment I introduced him to her, must have been drawn to her looks and shifted his feelings right away. He broke off our engagement, which we had announced to our families and even our workplace, with a mocking laugh. Now Amelia plans to marry him and live happily ever after. It infuriates me that I ever wasted any concern on those shallow, thoughtless people. The message included a link to a website alongside the video. When I tapped on it, it was an elaborate wedding invitation. The photos from their pre-wedding shoot, adorned with gaudy animations, asked me if I would attend. Just looking at it made me feel nauseous. But then I stopped and thought, could this be my chance to turn the tables and reclaim my dignity? I managed to keep my composure despite my trembling fingers. As I clicked on the RSVP option and sent it to Amelia, who must have been filled with joy while preparing for her wedding. Such a beautiful day. Perfect for revenge. I mean, a wedding. I had dressed up meticulously for the occasion as a guest. All of it was for celebrating Noah and Amelia's wedding. When I solemnly signed the guest book, the receptionist noticed my name and guided me to the family room. Even though I insisted I wasn't family, they mentioned the bride and groom had specifically asked for Olivia to be escorted there. Why? Are they up to something suspicious? I peeked into the family room, only to find it crowded with far too many people for just relatives. Overhearing some conversations, I learned they had gathered their current bosses, co-workers, and even subordinates. As the room filled with people, music suddenly started playing, and Noah and Amelia made their grand entrance as the bride and groom. Thank you, everyone, for gathering here before the ceremony. Amelia and I wanted to introduce the important people in our lives as we take this step forward together and share a few words with each of you. Using a microphone in the large room, they spoke dreamily. It seemed they were completely absorbed in the attention from everyone who had come to witness their big day. During the introductions, they began by presenting their relatives and colleagues one by one, delivering personalized messages to each. This turned into an unbearably long and disjointed event. Guests grew tired from standing the whole time, and even Noah and Amelia seemed a bit out of breath by the end. After finally finishing the introductions with their youngest subordinates, they exchanged a peculiar smirk as though they had been eagerly awaiting this moment. Now, everyone, I'd like to introduce my dear childhood friend. It's thanks to her that I met Noah. Olivia. Wait, where is she? Olivia, late as usual. It's a shame that our Cupid isn't here with us. I was shocked to hear my name suddenly called, but even more so when neither of them recognized me at first glance. I've been here this whole time. When I raised my voice, Amelia smiled with satisfaction. Oh, good, Olivia. I was worried you might have burst out of your dress for today's event. She started her usual mockery, but her expression froze the moment our eyes met. What? Wait. Why are you here? Noah looked at me with surprise, sharing Amelia's confusion. It's been a while, you two. Thanks for inviting me today. I smiled, and Amelia, forcing her stiff lips into a scream, yelled out, Olivia. What? Why are you here? Calm down, Amelia. Olivia. Why is she here? Wait. The Olivia we invited. Both of them were utterly bewildered, and honestly, I understood how they felt. Even I couldn't have imagined such a transformation in myself. After Noah abruptly broke off our engagement and disappeared, I was so devastated that I temporarily lost my appetite. It wasn't just weight loss, it was an unhealthy deterioration in my strength and overall condition. Determined to change, I started eating healthy food little by little, eventually picking up strength training and yoga for both distraction and fitness. Gradually, my body began to transform, and to distract myself even more, I uploaded my progress to social media. Interacting with others who were also working on their fitness goals turned out to be really fun, and before I knew it, my follower count exploded. When people started asking me to create a channel to share fitness tips, I decided to give it a shot. The response was overwhelming, and my followers grew rapidly. I quickly became a popular influencer. Now I'm on magazine covers, and even appearing on TV, a small celebrity in my own right. I even started experimenting with makeup, something I had never paid attention to before, and my appearance changed significantly, though I'm still me at heart. You two didn't notice I've been here all along. Is it really you, Olivia, the famous influencer? Yes, I couldn't stay in touch with you, Amelia, so I didn't have a way to let you know. I smiled, and both Noah and Amelia turned pale, trembling with what seemed to be humiliation. How does something like this even happen? You were just a plain, forgettable sidekick. Olivia, you're so slim and gorgeous now. Admittedly, I was always tall. Once I started working out and doing yoga, I ended up with a look I think turned out pretty good. What do you mean by I glared at him, and Noah let out a pathetic whimper. I mean, maybe I should have chosen you, Olivia. Hey, Noah. Amelia's outburst was furious. She's always been the type who needs to be the center of attention. Having an influencer potentially outshine her on her big day was probably unbearable. Though she's the one who invited me. Amelia gripped the microphone tightly, like a fighter delivering a pre-match speech, and shouted, "Everyone, that so-called influencer Olivia used to be chubby. She was barely good enough to be my shadow. And pitifully, I even stole her fiancé." Before Amelia could finish, the room buzzed with uncomfortable murmurs. Even her parents stared at her in shock, realizing that her attempt to smear me had turned into an admission of her own horrible actions. Amelia quickly shut her mouth. That's right. My past was filled with moments where I was timid and looked down on by Amelia. And yes, after Noel and I got engaged, Amelia took him away. It was devastating at the time. "Stop it." When I picked up where Amelia left off, she yelled, her face bright red. But I raised my voice, refusing to back down. But I picked myself up and found my own path. I started working out, experimenting with makeup, and pushing myself forward. I still enjoy my favorite foods, too. Getting invited today surprised me. But I came here to face my worst memories and leave them behind once and for all. My speech was met with scattered applause from the guests, maybe emboldened by the shift in the room. Noah turned to me with a sheepish grin. "I'm sorry, Olivia. I must have been out of my mind. Betraying my fiancé was awful. Maybe I could make up for it by staying close to you." "Excuse me, don't be ridiculous. Just because I had a body that wasn't as toned as it is now doesn't mean you had the right to mock me, call me names, or judge me by appearances. Switching to my childhood friend just because of how I looked. There's no chance I'd ever want to talk to someone like you again." When I harshly rejected him, Noah muttered something under his breath and looked down. The one who grabbed him immediately was Amelia. "Are you kidding me? Noah, you married me, didn't you? Are you seriously trying to get back with that frumpy woman who used to be chubby?" "Well, I mean, Amelia, you're beautiful, but sometimes you're so intense it's terrifying. And Olivia, she's just unforgivable. This is cheating, betrayal. I'll sue you." Forgetting they were in front of all the guests, Noel and Amelia began a marital argument that no one else cared about. Honestly, they were a perfect match. I decided I wasn't going to waste any more of my precious time and quietly slipped out of the wedding venue, never to return. After a lengthy quarrel, Noah and Amelia apparently managed to complete both the ceremony and the reception. It seems they didn't have the courage to cancel a wedding that had cost tens of thousands of dollars just because they insulted each other. But the atmosphere was awful at both events. During the ring exchange and a cake cutting, Noel and Amelia glared at each other. The guests, having learned some shocking truths before the ceremony, were no longer in a celebratory mood, and no performance could lift their spirits. It was said to have felt like a funeral, or so I heard through the grapevine. After the wedding, Amelia was severely scolded by her parents. Apparently, 2 years ago, she lied about me doing something terrible to her and asked them not to pass on my messages, painting me in a bad light while stealing someone's fiancé. Her parents disowned her, calling her a disgraceful daughter. Hell awaited Noah as well. News of Amelia's scheming marriage spread throughout their workplace. Unable to endure the cold stares from their coworkers, Noel and Amelia once again used a resignation service to quit their jobs and flee. But they had just hosted an extravagant wedding. Even though the atmosphere was like a funeral, the expenses didn't change. With no savings and no jobs early in their marriage, Noel and Amelia argue daily. It seems even being in the same house has become a source of stress for them, and their job searches are not going well. Honestly, paying a resignation service before securing new employment, what were they thinking? Well, it's just like those two, to make choices that are overly self-indulgent, riding on the mood and momentum of the moment. That personality of theirs is probably why, despite just getting married, their divorce seems almost inevitable, a sad reality, to say the least. As for me, my connection to Noah and Amelia began when I was unceremoniously stuck in the family waiting room during their wedding. Surprisingly, that incident led to an offer from their former workplace, a health food company, to sign an exclusive contract as a model for their advertisements. It turned out to be the biggest job opportunity of my career. My recognition skyrocketed, and thankfully, I've been gaining a growing number of followers, regardless of gender. I decided to use my newfound visibility to launch a new initiative. It's a live-streamed advice series aimed at young people struggling with diet and body image issues. Having once suffered the humiliation of being mocked for my appearance by both a childhood friend and a fiancé, I can relate deeply to their struggles. That makes me the perfect person to guide these young individuals away from dangerous diet practices. In fact, this advice series has been well received, with many viewers sharing that it has helped them resist extreme dieting behaviors. I feel incredibly fulfilled knowing I'm using my platform as an influencer in such a positive way. Never would I have imagined, back when Noah and Amelia's laughter rendered me too timid to respond, that I'd someday be helping others lighten the burden of their serious worries. Had I not experienced the heartbreak of being replaced and losing Noah, I wouldn't be the person I am today, regardless of my body type or facial features. I've grown to love the version of myself that has overcome a painful past and now works to make a difference in others' lives. Even if I choose to share my life with someone in the future, I'll continue to stay true to myself and live sincerely, without compromising my personal style. Housework is your job. Stop slacking off. Here we go again. My husband, Jack, never takes care of his own needs and expects me to do everything. When I point it out, he always says, "I'm too busy with work." But no, that's not an excuse. Not at this level. And to top it off, he calls me a nagging devil of a wife. I've had enough. This is my breaking point. I'll show him that a mom isn't weak. My name is Naomi. When I decided to switch to yogurt for breakfast to lose weight, it turned out so delicious that I kept adding toppings. And ironically, I gained weight instead. A clumsy 40-year-old. That's me. Even my daughter, Lily, chided me, saying, "Mom, you have to count your carbs." She started talking like some kind of beauty expert, apparently, for my next attempt at weight loss. Lily, who's on the track team, plans to take me jogging. I guess I'll try to lose weight healthily by being more active. Turns out, strict dietary changes aren't for me. I love food too much, but I know I can tackle exercise-based weight loss. After all, I've overcome far more difficult challenges in the past. It was about 15 years ago. I had just found out I was pregnant with Lily. I didn't know anything since it was my first pregnancy. And the days I spent asking Mom and my friends who had children for advice was nostalgic. I was nervous, but imagining the day I would finally meet my baby should have been a time filled with joy and anticipation. But instead, I found myself dealing with a major issue. "Naomi, grab me beer," Jack said casually. If I happened to be standing near the fridge, maybe that wouldn't have been so unreasonable. But Jack would hand me his empty bottle and ask for another, even when I was right next to him. Oh, here we go again. I let out a deep sigh. Jack never fetches his own coffee or beer. Is he one of those old-school henpecked husbands? Not exactly. He used to handle things himself. But back when he was working long hours and always tired, I felt bad for him. As a stay-at-home mom, I wasn't exhausted, so I started bringing him things out of kindness. And somehow that kindness turned into an expectation over time. I hadn't really minded doing these things before, but once I became pregnant, Jack's requests started to feel like a burden. Getting coffee or beer from the kitchen was one thing, but when he asked me to fetch his jacket from the second floor or grab something he left in the car, I found myself running all over the place. Lately, my morning sickness had gotten worse, and while these requests might seem trivial to Jack, each one felt increasingly difficult for me. I know he doesn't mean any harm, but I couldn't help feeling annoyed by his lack of consideration. Still, I didn't have the courage to say to Jack, who was tired, "Do it yourself," so I silently put up with it. Somewhere deep down, I think I expected him to notice on his own since I was pregnant. But when I brought it up to a friend, she said, "Men won't get it unless you say it out loud. They're not like us women, who can pick up on things intuitively." Her words made me realize I'd been expecting too much. So I decided to talk to Jack honestly. "I'm finding it harder to move around now that I'm pregnant. Please try to handle your own things as much as possible." "What? You've always done it before." "Wait." He's arguing with me. "I'm not full of energy every day, you know. I need to take care of my body, so I'd like to avoid unnecessary trips up and down the stairs, for example." "Come on, I work every day, and am not full of energy either." "That's not what I mean. Naomi, even if you're not feeling great, you're a housewife. You can relax at home. I have to go to work, no matter how tough it is." "I thought you understood that." "Listen, I've always done what I could to support you, even without saying anything. But now, my body is changing daily, and I need your help to protect our baby." "Don't exaggerate. Grabbing a beer or fetching my stuff from the car isn't putting the baby in danger. If I trip and fall, it is." "Well, then just don't trip. That's a separate issue from me asking you for help." "Excuse me. What is he even saying? Was he always like this? If I have an accident because of the trivial tasks he asks me to do, it's not his problem." "Is that what he's saying?" He's not even considering the idea of cutting back on his requests. He doesn't seem to care about me or the baby at all. We've been married for a year, but this was the first time I felt so disconnected from Jack. It was like trying to connect a smartphone to a speaker over and over again. In the end, Nothing changed. Instead, things got worse. Naomi, grab me a beer. Oh wait, will it put the baby in danger? Apparently, he thought he was being funny. What kind of joke is this? I found myself growing more and more irritated by Jack's behavior. It got to the point where I wondered if he was deliberately trying to provoke me for his own amusement. Was this frustration just a result of hormonal changes? Before my pregnancy, would I have laughed off his jokes? Or maybe I was starting to lose patience with him altogether. The complex emotions of pregnancy kept me in constant turmoil. Then one day, Jack's request crossed a line I couldn't ignore. The snow's bad today, and I can't take the car out. Can you walk to the dry cleaners and pick up my suit? What? Let me get this straight. The weather is snowing. The mode of transport is walking. And I am pregnant. Excuse me, but isn't this a trifecta of dangerous keywords? Without the slightest hesitation, Jack pulled out the loyalty card from his wallet, handed it to me with a casual "Here you go." It was snowing so heavily that even the dry cleaner might have been closed for the day. Even if I weren't pregnant, no husband in his right mind would send his wife out in this weather. Don't you think it's dangerous for an unprepared woman to walk outside when the snow is bad enough to stop a car? Jack looked at me with a serious expression. If you're careful not to slip, humans have better awareness than cars. It's safer. What kind of logic is that? Then you should go. My voice rose, and Jack looked genuinely shocked. Honestly, I was more shocked by his surprise. It's true I'd never raised my voice at Jack before. But this time, even I, someone who prided herself on being mild-mannered, had reached my limit. Hey, I worked until yesterday. Okay, I only have today and tomorrow off. And now you're telling me to go pick up my suit? It's your suit, in the first place. You're not being very kind. My coworker told me that pregnant women get mean, and now I see he was right. Don't make it sound like this is my fault. You're the crazy one trying to send your wife out in weather like this. It's just snow, not a hurricane. You're being dramatic, but you're not willing to go out in just snow, are you? Because it's tiring and cold. If I catch a cold, it'll affect my work. If I, as the man of the house, can't work, we won't survive. Now who's being dramatic? We have savings, and a cold won't ruin us. You just don't get it. Fine, I'll pick up the suit next week. I bit my tongue to stop myself from saying, you should be done that from the start. It wouldn't have made a difference anyway. Unfortunately, this wasn't the end of it. One day, it happened again. Can you go buy this? Jack said, handing me a list. The list was filled with household items, far too many for me to carry without a car. Hey, didn't we plan to go shopping together today? You were the one who suggested taking the car since it's a longer trip. Jack tilted his head as if he had no idea what I was talking about. I was planning on it, but I worked late last night. Remember, I just want to relax at home today. Then why don't we postpone the shopping trip? Half the items on this list are yours anyway. There's no way I can carry all this. Maybe we can just order some of it online. You'll be fine. Just power through it. What? Once again, is this just a light-hearted joke? Jack said this with a carefree expression. It seemed that his approach of sending me out alone for shopping hadn't changed. Look, I've told you before, I'm in my final month of pregnancy. I could go into labor at any time. Telling me to power through isn't funny or helpful. Can't you think a little more about my condition? I couldn't help but snap. Recently, I couldn't hide my growing frustration with Jack anymore. Jack, however, looked at me and said, calm down. Lately, you've been way too irritable. That kind of lashing out isn't healthy. We live together, So let's try to create a more positive atmosphere, okay? How could he even say that? He's blaming me now. Did he expect me to carry all these heavy items home by myself? What? In not lashing out. If you really don't want to go shopping, fine, I'll go. Man, working late to earn money. And then not even getting a proper weekend to rest. What am I? Just a walking wallet or something? Jack grabbed his car keys and headed toward the parking lot, grumbling as he went. If I'd been holding something at that moment, I might have thrown it at the back of his head. I was furious. Despite being in my final month of pregnancy, I still cooked, managed the household, and fulfilled his requests. And yet he acted as though he was the only one carrying a heavy load. Enough was enough. Though I was boiling with anger, I decided to seek advice calmly. I turned to Diane, Jack's mom. I wasn't sure if talking to my mother-in-law was the right move, but with the baby's arrival approaching, I wanted to do everything I could to improve my relationship with Jack. Raising a child with him acting this way seemed impossible. We were supposed to be partners, and it felt so lonely to think otherwise. And that's the situation, Diane. I called Diane immediately. Step by step, I explained everything to her. How Jack had told me to walk to the dry cleaners on a snowy day. How had expected me to go shopping alone with a list of items too heavy to carry. And how when I protested, he didn't listen. He didn't even understand what was wrong. Diane was understanding. Jack said that. Don't let him push you around. She agreed with my perspective and even told me I shouldn't be doing much housework anymore. You never know when the baby will arrive, so Jack needs to get used to taking care of himself, she added. She advised me to avoid standing in the kitchen to cook, and even offered to bring meals herself. When I hesitated, feeling guilty, Diane reassured me, don't worry about it. Since my husband passed, I haven't had many opportunities to cook for others. I actually enjoy it, she said with a warm smile. To my surprise, Diane showed up at our house shortly after our call, saying she was worried about me. Her kindness, so unlike Jack's behavior, brought me close to tears. To be honest, Diane and I hadn't been particularly close before. Even after learning about my pregnancy, our contact had been limited to updates like, "They'll let you know once the baby is born." We had maintained a polite but distant relationship. Now I regretted not reaching out to her sooner. However, the warmth didn't last long. When Jack came home from shopping and saw Diane cleaning the house, he blurted out, "Naomi, why are you making Mom clean?" Diane burst into laughter. "Oh no, dear, I wanted to clean. Besides, shouldn't you be doing this? Naomi's due any day now. You can't keep making her do all the housework." Jack froze, stunned by Diane's scolding. Although he looked slightly annoyed, he replied, "Oh, I see. Thanks, Mom. If Naomi's struggling, you need to step up and help her," she added firmly. Jack stayed silent. After finishing a round of cleaning, Diane left, having done so much to help. I was incredibly grateful. It felt like I could finally rest for the first time in a while, but that relief was short-lived. "Why did you make Mom do the housework?" Jack snapped, glaring at me. She offered to help after hearing about my situation. It was her choice. I didn't force her to do anything. "Yay, right. You probably exaggerated things again, like you always do." "That's not true. You're so hopeless. What did I even do wrong? You dumped your responsibilities onto Mom." "Excuse me. Housework is your job. Stop slacking off." "Have I ever slacked off before? I've always done everything I needed to, haven't I?" "I wouldn't know. I'm busy working and rarely home, so for all I know, you could be slacking off when I'm not around." "What's it supposed to mean? Don't talk like I don't do anything at all." when I see you pushing your responsibilities onto mom. What else am I supposed to think? You keep talking about housework as if it's the wife's duty. It's not. Since we're living together, you're just as responsible for it as I am. Oh, so now you're saying I should handle housework too? After earning all the money, going shopping even on my day off, and now you want me to do chores? What a terrible wife you are. I'm not forcing you to do anything. Yeah, well, it sure feels like you are. Poor kid of mine, having to grow up with a nagging, overbearing mom like you. You don't want a mom like that, do you? Jack sneered and directed his voice at my belly. I was furious. Don't act like a dad when you haven't done a single thing for this baby. I shot back. That hit a nerve. Well, I am the dad, aren't I? Unless you've got another one lined up. Jack spat before storming out of the house. This fight felt different, like something had broken beyond repair. I started to wonder if I could even stay with Jack anymore. And then it happened. Oh, it's happening, I muttered as the contractions hit me suddenly. At the most critical moment, Jack was nowhere to be found. I had to call a cab and go to the hospital alone. When I gave birth, Jack never showed up at the hospital. Maybe he was avoiding me after our fight, but no matter what had happened between us, it was appalling that he didn't even try to reach out when his child was born. Diane said she would drag Jack to the hospital if necessary and went to check on him at our house, but she found that Jack wasn't there. For a moment, we wondered if he'd gone missing. I even considered contacting the police. When I called his company, I learned that although Jack was still technically employed, he had been taking frequent absences. He was missing work 2 or 3 days a week. This was shocking news to everyone. You said you were working overtime almost every night. Even his colleagues had no idea where he was. They assumed he was at home, which, of course, he wasn't. Where on earth had Jack been spending his time? After discussing with Diane and my parents, we decided to focus on my recovery and the baby for now. Whatever was going on with Jack, it would have to wait. I was discharged from the hospital, and 2 days later, Jack returned home. Not voluntarily, though. Diane called Jack's office and directly instructed him to return home immediately. Where have you been? Diane demanded sharply when Jack finally arrived. At a motel, Jack muttered, avoiding eye contact and looking down. Why didn't you come home? Your child has been born, for heaven's sake. I lost my confidence, he mumbled. Diane and I both exclaimed simultaneously. What? I think I have a mental illness. That's the first I've heard of it. Really? Have you been to a doctor? Diane asked, her voice skeptical. Jack shook his head. No, I haven't been to a hospital. But I've never felt this unwilling to go to work before. So I must be sick. There's a lot to unpack here. But let's start with why. Why do you feel this way? The relationships at work. They're not going well, Jack said with a heavy tone. Why not? I asked instinctively. When I give orders, my subordinates don't listen. No one follows what I say. What kind of orders are you giving? Things like asking them to return my rented DVDs or to make me coffee. What? That's not work-related. Of course, they're not listening to that. But in their boss at work, it's common sense to follow your boss orders. Have you always been giving orders like that? Yay, I have, Jack said as if it were obvious. Diane and I exchanged a deep sigh. We were beyond exasperated. Work isn't going well. And at home, Naomi, the devil, criticizes everything I do. I can't take it anymore. My mental health is completely shot. I just can't handle work right now. His self-pity pushed me over the edge. Everything you're complaining about is your own fault. You're just making excuses for yourself. Go to work already. You weren't like this before. You used to be kind. They say women show their true colors after marriage, and it's true. You're acting like a child, so I have to talk to you like this. I'm not being childish. I just don't have the mental stamina to keep going to work anymore. Didn't you say once that you could get through anything with determination? Why don't you apply that logic now? I'm not like you, living an easy life as a housewife. You can't understand my suffering. No, I don't understand it, and I won't pretend to. But didn't you say you're the man of the house? And if you don't work, we can't make a living. Then just work. If you hate your job so much, change it. By the way, when did you start slacking off at work? What's going on with your paid leave? My paid leave is almost gone. Then your salary's going to drop too, isn't it? We won't be able to afford our expenses. Your job is to work, right? So work. Do you want me to grab you a job listings magazine? My sharp words made Jack burst into tears. This is cruel. Even when I say I'm struggling, you don't even try to be there for me. When I told you I was struggling, you told me to bring you a beer. Was that your way of being supportive? Jack fell silent, unable to counter my words. Diane chimed in. Everything we've heard so far makes you 100% at fault, Jack. Naomi is absolutely right. You exaggerate everything, and if I so much as point out something, you'd cry about it. You're weak. I've endured far more severe stress than you ever have. Your suffering doesn't even count as suffering. Jack, still crying, raised his voice defensively. I couldn't help but laugh. Take a look in the mirror. You're the one bawling your eyes out right now. I just pointed out a few things, and here you are, a complete mess. You're such a cold woman. Of course I am. How else am I supposed to act toward someone who wasn't even there for me during childbirth? How am I supposed to be kind to someone like that? But I'm your husband. And does it mean I should automatically be kind to you? Have you been unconditionally kind to me as your wife? You were kind in the past, sure, but lately, all you've been is cold. If anyone's changed since we got married, it's you. You've never worked outside. You can possibly understand my struggles. That's true. Just like I foolishly thought a man could understand what it's like to be pregnant. I was wrong. I guess I was misled by my friends' husbands, who were understanding and supportive. But you've proven that your personality is garbage. No, wait, that's an insult to garbage. You're worse. Jack, clearly upset, kept repeating, "Don't blame me," as tears streamed down his face. Diane, visibly fed up, looked at Jack with utter disbelief. Meanwhile, Jack sobbed even harder, saying, "It's not my fault," like a child throwing a tantrum. Realizing it was pointless to continue, Diane and I decided to leave Jack, who was now crying harder than baby Lily, and retreat to the bedroom for the night. The next morning, to my surprise, Jack apologized. "I'm sorry," he said. "What do you mean by that? I've realized something. I can't live without you. Excuse me, can't you see? I'm emotionally broken. I'm in no state to work. I need you to support me. From now on, I'll be a house husband." You're really talented to say something so ridiculous while wide awake. Don't brush me off. I'm serious. I wish you were joking. But what are you even saying? They'll take care of everything at home. You can go to work without worrying. Can you produce breast milk? What? Do you think taking care of the house is the only thing that needs to be done? Your job is the housework, right? Who's going to take care of the baby? You, of course. There aren't many companies willing to hire someone with a baby in tow. What exactly are you thinking? Realistically, I can't work under these conditions. Then I'll take care of the baby too. Let me ask again. Can you produce breast milk? There are things only women can do, you know. And there's no way I'd trust someone like you with Lily. Then what are we supposed to do? Who's going to work? We won't be able to survive. The only person whose life will become unsustainable is yours, so it's fine. What? What did you just say? Didn't you hear me? The only one who'll be in trouble if you don't work is you. That's obvious. What about you? Don't tell me you're planning to keep all your earnings to yourself. Don't joke around. I've been supporting you all this time. I can't believe you'd even think of that. No, I'm not saying that. Then what are you saying? Jack's question was met with a brief silence from me. Diane, who had been quietly listening to our back and forth, seemed to have realized something. She muttered, "Well, it can't be helped." Seeing this, Jack tilted his head in confusion. "What's going on? Let's get a divorce." "What?" Jack was stunned by my proposal. As he noticed the unwavering determination on my face, his face grew pale. "Why, we just had a baby. There are plenty of reasons. And we've had countless arguments already. It's a little late to ask why, don't you think? But this isn't something worth divorcing over." True. From one perspective, you don't hit me or threaten my life, so maybe this isn't something worth divorcing over. But I'm tired. I'm tired too. There it is. You always say things like, "I have it worse," or "I struggle more." Struggles aren't something you can compare. If someone feels pain, then it's painful for them. It's not for you to judge. You've done the same thing to me, though. That's because I wanted you to understand how I felt. But look at where that got us. All you ever do is insist you're the victim, without even trying to consider how I feel. I thought you couldn't understand me unless I shared my feelings. That's just forcing your emotions onto me. And when I did the same, you brushed it off as exaggeration. That's unfair. I didn't mean to. Maybe you didn't mean to, but that's the result. I've been hurt, and my feelings for you are gone. I can't stay in this marriage anymore. Please reconsider. There's no need to divorce right now. If I don't divorce you now, you'll just keep relying on me more and more. I'm not going to silently take care of the baby, handle the housework, and work a job all at the same time. Can you really raise the child on your own? I've practically been raising her alone this entire time. I'm prepared. It's not going to be easy. So, you think having you around would make raising her any easier? It'd just be like having 2 children in the house instead of 1. When Jack continued to press, Diane told him, "Give it up." Jack finally understood that pleading with me was pointless and slumped down at Diane's words. "How am I supposed to live from now on?" He groaned. "Well, maybe you should start by changing your mindset. Even if you switch jobs, if you keep thinking the way you do, you'll just repeat the same mistakes." At my words, Jack collapsed and started crying. I briefly wondered if I might have gone too far with the emotional weight, especially since it all seemed to be Jack's own doing. But honestly, he deserved some tough love. Even though we were getting divorced, I hoped Jack, as Lily's dad, would eventually change for the better. Jack didn't give up easily. He repeatedly tried to persuade me with, "How about we try again?" But eventually, we managed to divorce. I was worried about whether Jack, who had been frequently absent from work, would be able to pay child support properly. But Diane reassured me that she would help out with that. She promised that our lives would be financially stable. Diane remained concerned about me getting divorced with young Lily in tow. Even after the divorce, I still saw Diane as a wonderful person, and I occasionally had her meet with Lily as per my request. At first, Diane was hesitant, saying, "It's not great for a divorced family to see the child." but it seemed like the emotional barriers were slowly coming down, and I was glad to see that. As for Jack, he initially seemed to try and change his mindset at his current company, but it seemed he had become so disliked by his subordinates and colleagues that the situation didn't improve as expected. Jack, who had claimed to have mental health issues, ended up going to therapy, and it seemed that he had a difficult time, both emotionally and physically. His health deteriorated, and he struggled to work properly, which left him without the energy to look for a new job. For about 2 to 3 years, he alternated between taking leave and returning to work. Eventually, due to the excessive amount of time he took off, his company moved him to a different department, where he started managing the warehouse. His condition worsened even further after that. Being demoted from the sales department was a huge blow to Jack, it seemed. He ended up resigning, started looking for a new job, but struggled to find something suitable. After about a year, he worked part-time at a factory and eventually became a full-time employee there. You might think Jack was really good at his job to move from part-time to full-time, but that's not exactly the case. It wasn't that he couldn't do the job, but it was more that the factory had such a high turnover rate due to the harsh working conditions. The factory was always understaffed, so they increased the number of full-time employees, gave them titles, and even manipulated overtime pay. The shifts were also irregular, and many employees didn't follow the schedules, so the lower-level workers were often forced to work long hours, taking orders from their superiors. Despite using borderline legal methods for managing employees, the factory was still advertised as a great place to work on job listing sites. It seemed like Jack wanted to quit, but he couldn't, because he was worried he wouldn't be able to find another job. However, the good news was that the negative habit of treating subordinates like servants seemed to have disappeared after working in such a tough environment, having been in a position where he himself had to take orders from his superiors. He finally understood the struggles of those below him. Well, I hope he works hard for Lily's child support. In a way, I'm cheering him on. Just a little bit. But honestly, a slightly harsh environment seems like the perfect place for him to change his thinking. In the end, I think this job might actually be a good fit for Jack, depending on how you look at it. On the other hand, for me, it was my first childbirth, my first divorce, and my first time raising a child. It was undoubtedly busy, and to say I didn't struggle would be a lie. Maybe it would have been better to stay with Jack. There were, of course, moments when I wondered such, but with the support of my parents, and above all, the joy of watching Lily grow visibly before my eyes, I found it fun and endearing. While I may not be able to call myself a perfect mom, I think I managed to handle motherhood well despite everything. I'm still not sure if I'm raising her the right way, though. However, when Lily started elementary school, a small incident occurred. There was a child in her class who was a bit developmentally delayed, and that child was being ostracized by the others. When Lily saw the bullying, she was furious. A minor scuffle broke out, and we had to apologize to the other family. But in the end, the bullying in the class stopped, and the issue was resolved. Of course, starting a fight wasn't a good thing, so I made sure to scold her for that, but at that moment, I couldn't help but feel proud of Lily. Since she was young, I had always taught her, if you see someone in need, help them. And to see that she had grown into a strong child who could actually put that lesson into practice made me proud. Now, as she's preparing for exams, Lily has been helping me with my diet, guiding me on exercise and meal improvements. I hope that, moving forward, Lily and I can continue to build a home filled with laughter.
Olivia, After 14 years with Brand Core Solutions, we're restructuring your role, Claire Reynolds announced, her voice carrying an unmistakable note of satisfaction that made my stomach tighten. She sat across from me at the corner table of Westfield Cafe, an upscale coffee shop just a block from our office. The morning bustle of business people around us created the illusion of privacy in public. Vanessa Mitchell from HR flanked her, both women clutching designer lattes while wearing what I recognized as their carefully rehearsed expressions of corporate sympathy. The company is evolving its marketing approach, Vanessa added with practiced precision, sliding a cream-colored folder across the polished wooden table. Your contributions have been valuable, but we're integrating the analytics division under the digital marketing team. You know, fresh perspectives. Her emphasis on fresh wasn't subtle. I nodded thoughtfully, accepting the folder without opening it, feeling the weight of its contents, my professional execution papers. My fingers traced the embossed company logo while my mind raced ahead. Inside would be the standard severance package, 2 weeks for every year of service, continued health coverage for 3 months, and a list of career counseling resources I would never use. 14 years of loyalty distilled into a sterile stack of legal documents. I completely understand, I replied, my voice steady despite the wave of indignation rising within me. These decisions are never easy, especially when they involve someone with my track record. I took a deliberate sip of my untouched coffee, noting how the bitter taste matched the moment perfectly. Relief washed over their faces like a tide. Claire's shoulders relaxed a fraction while Vanessa's pen stopped its nervous tapping against her notepad. They'd clearly expected tears, protests, or anger, the stereotypical emotional response from a woman being pushed aside. After all, I was a 53-year-old marketing director being discarded in an industry increasingly obsessed with youth and digital natives. What they couldn't see was the cold calculation behind my composed exterior, a plan set in motion weeks ago when a misdirected email thread had appeared in my inbox with the subject line Transition Plan OH. Position. We'd like you to complete the handover by Friday, Claire continued, gaining confidence from my apparent acceptance. Her French manicured nails drummed a victory beat on her leather portfolio. We'll need your building access card, company laptop, and phone before you leave. Your team will be informed this afternoon at the departmental stand-up. My team. 6 brilliant marketing specialists I had personally recruited, trained, and mentored over the years. The same team that had helped me develop the revolutionary customer segmentation model that now powered BrandCore's flagship product suite, used by over 40% of Fortune 500 marketing departments. Their faces flashed through my mind, Noah's analytical brilliance, Sophia's creative insights, the way they'd all trusted me to guide their careers. Of course, I said, rising from my chair, the scrape of wood against tile floor punctuating my response. Is there anything else you need from me? My voice remained professional, giving away nothing of the storm brewing inside. They exchanged uncertain glances, visibly thrown by my composure. Claire recovered first, tucking a strand of perfectly highlighted hair behind her ear. That's all for now. Thank you for making this professional. I know transitions can be emotional. Emotional? No, I replied with a thin smile. This is business, Claire. I've always understood the difference. As I walked back toward the office building, leather tote swinging at my side, I passed the glass-walled conference room where the executive team was meeting. Through the transparent barrier, I could see CEO Bradley Wilson gesturing animatedly at a presentation titled Brand Reinvention Strategy. The same Bradley Wilson who had presented my customer segmentation model at last year's National Marketing Summit, referring to me only as one of our analytics team members while collecting the Industry Innovation Award on the company's behalf. I entered my office and quietly closed the door, leaning against it for a moment as I took a deep breath. The framed marketing awards on my wall seemed to mock me now, recognition that had never translated to true respect. With steady hands, I pulled out my personal phone and sent a single text message: "It's happened. Friday is my last day." The response came almost immediately from James: "Perfect timing. Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details, 7 p.m. at Vino Azure." A sense of vindication warmed my chest as I looked at the calendar on my desk. Today was Wednesday. Friday I would walk out of Brandcore Solutions for the last time, and Monday would fundamentally reshape the industry landscape. That evening, I met James Fletcher at Vino Azure, a sophisticated wine bar tucked away in the suburbs, far from the corporate downtown where Brandcore maintained its gleaming headquarters. As the CEO of Market Edge, Brandcore's most formidable competitor, James understood the value of discretion. He'd reserved a private booth in the back, secluded from curious eyes by artfully positioned wine racks and ambient lighting that created the perfect atmosphere for confidential conversations. "They actually went through with it," James said, shaking his head after we ordered, his expression a mixture of disbelief and opportunity. The crystal wineglass caught the light as he swirled a robust Cabernet. "I suspected they might, but to cut loose the very person who revolutionized their entire market approach, it's both shocking and the least surprising thing I've heard this year." "Bradley never truly understood what I created," I replied, taking a measured sip of my Bordeaux blend, savoring its complexity. "He saw the dashboard interface, the colorful reports, the immediate client interest. But the underlying analytical architecture, the predictive modeling that makes it all possible, that was just marketing mumbo-jumbo to him." I couldn't keep the edge from my voice, years of dismissals and minimizations crystallizing into sharp clarity. The irony was exquisite in its perfection. 3 months ago, I discovered the copyright and patent applications for my customer segmentation model had never been properly filed by Brandcore's legal team. An oversight, they'd claimed when I inquired, with reassurances they'd handle it immediately. But something in their evasive responses had set off warning bells, prompting me to dig through the company's internal documentation. That's when I found it, a strategy memo outlining plans to claim the segmentation system as company-developed methodology without specific inventor attribution. They'd planned to push me out before securing proper legal protection, operating under the assumption that all creative work belonged to the company. What Brandcore failed to realize was that I'd already been working on significant enhancements to the model on my own time, using my personal equipment in my home office. These improvements, which increased customer conversion predictions by a validated 37%, weren't covered by my employment agreement. With meticulous care, I'd documented every hour spent on these enhancements, maintaining comprehensive timestamps and development logs that clearly established the work was completed outside of company time. I'd quietly filed for copyright and patent protection under my own name last month, evidence in hand. The applications had been processed with remarkable efficiency, thanks to James's introduction to a top-tier intellectual property attorney who specialized in marketing analytics protection. "All the paperwork is finalized," James said, now sliding a leather portfolio across the polished table. "Once you sign, Market Edge officially acquires exclusive licensing rights to your segmentation model and methodology. The press release goes out Monday morning, announcing you as our new Chief Marketing Innovation Officer." I reviewed the documents carefully, though I'd already committed the key terms to memory, a substantial signing bonus that acknowledged my true market value, equity in Market Edge that gave me real ownership stake, and ongoing royalties from all campaigns and products using my segmentation model. This wasn't just a job offer, it was recognition of my intellectual contribution to the industry. The candlelight caught the gold of my fountain pen as I positioned it over the signature line, feeling the weight of 14 years and countless undervalued contributions in my hand. Continuing at the wine bar, what do you think Bradley's face will look like when he realizes what's happened? James asked, unable to hide the gleam of satisfaction in his eyes. He leaned forward, elbows on the dark wooden table, the ambient lighting casting dramatic shadows across his face. I'm more concerned about my team, I admitted, running my finger along the stem of my wineglass. Noah, Sophia, and the others, they don't deserve to be caught in the fallout. They've all worked incredibly hard, only to be undervalued by the same management that's discarding me. James nodded, his expression turning serious. Already addressed. We've created positions for all 6 of them at Market Edge, if they're interested. Senior roles with expanded responsibilities and significant raises, about 20% above their current compensation packages. I've had the HR team prepare the offer letters discreetly. The tension I'd been carrying in my shoulders eased slightly. They're brilliant marketers. You won't regret it. I know talent when I see it, James replied. Unlike some people we know. I signed the final page with a flourish and closed the leather portfolio, feeling a profound sense of satisfaction as the pen made its final mark. The contract wasn't just paper, it was vindication, tangible proof that my work had value beyond what Brand Corps had been willing to acknowledge. To new beginnings, James said, raising his wineglass, the ruby liquid catching the light. And to owning your own value, I added, a warmth spreading through my chest as our glasses clinked together. The sound resonated with a finality that felt like closing one chapter and opening another, one where I was the author, not merely a character. Thursday and Friday passed in a whirlwind of exit procedures, knowledge transfer meetings, and carefully worded goodbyes. I maintained impeccable professional composure throughout, even as whispers and speculation spread across the office like wildfire. Administrative assistants gave me sympathetic glances in the hallways, their eyes following me with a mixture of pity and curiosity. Junior marketing associates approached awkwardly in the break room, nervously asking if I'd provide LinkedIn recommendations before I departed. Of course, I assured one particularly anxious young woman whose marketing copy I had mentored. Your talent deserves recognition, regardless of company politics. Her grateful smile highlighted the absurdity of discarding experienced mentors for the sake of fresh perspectives. I documented everything meticulously during the handover, every campaign strategy, every client relationship, every analytics password, every process workflow, filling 3 comprehensive binders with color-coded tabs. This wasn't generosity, it was calculated evidence. Proof that I had acted in good faith while the company had not. Each page was dated and initialed, creating an irrefutable record of my professional conduct right up to my final hour. During my exit interview on Friday afternoon, Vanessa from HR went through her standard checklist with robotic efficiency, her eyes rarely meeting mine as she checked boxes on her tablet. You understand that any intellectual property developed during your employment remains the property of Brand Corps Solutions, she stated in her corporate monotone, pushing a non-disclosure agreement across the polished conference table. Of course, I replied pleasantly, my smile never reaching my eyes. Anything developed within the scope of my employment, using company resources, during company time. I emphasized those 3 qualifiers deliberately, watching for any reaction, but Vanessa was too preoccupied with completing her form to notice the carefully placed landmines in my statement. She glanced up briefly. And you affirm you have no copies of proprietary company information? I have taken nothing that belongs to Brand Corps, I confirmed truthfully, maintaining direct eye contact. The patents and copyrights were legally mine, after all. My hand remained steady as I signed the final document, the ink flowing smoothly as I thought about the carefully documented hours I'd spent developing my enhanced model on my personal laptop at my kitchen table. As I packed the personal items from my desk, framed photos of my son's college graduation, a collection of marketing award trophies spanning 14 years, the personalized coffee mug my team had given me last Christmas with Data Queen emblazoned on it, Claire stopped by, leaning against my doorframe with artificial casualness, her designer outfit carefully selected to project authority. "Just wanted to check that everything's clear for your departure," she said, watching me place items into a cardboard box branded with the company logo. Her voice carried that false cheerfulness people adopt when they're uncomfortable but trying to maintain control. "Crystal clear," I replied evenly, carefully wrapping a crystal award I'd received for the very segmentation model now at the center of my strategic plans. The delicious irony wasn't lost on me as I placed it between layers of tissue paper. "You know, Olivia, these organizational shifts are never personal," Claire continued, fidgeting with her statement bracelet. "Bradley feels the company needs to move in a more youthful direction. The digital landscape is changing so quickly these days." I looked up, meeting her gaze directly, my expression neutral but unflinching. "I understand completely, Claire. Business is business. Young or old, we're all just entries on a spreadsheet eventually." Something in my tone made her pause, uncertainty flickering across her expertly made-up face before she quickly dismissed it. What could a soon-to-be unemployed 53-year-old woman possibly do to a company as established as Brandcore? "Will you be taking some time off?" she asked, an artificial note of concern in her voice that couldn't mask her relief at my imminent departure. "Actually, I already have something lined up," I replied, placing my industry achievement plaque in the box. "I start Monday." Surprise crossed her features, her carefully sculpted eyebrows rising slightly. "That's remarkably fast. Anything interesting?" I smiled, a genuine expression for the first time in our conversation. "Very. A leadership position. I'm quite excited about it. The company values experience and proven results." "Oh," she said, clearly caught off guard. "Well, good luck with that." She nodded absently, already mentally moving on to other matters, perhaps calculating how to redistribute my workload without disrupting her own schedule. "Thank you, Claire. I suspect I won't need luck where I'm going, but I appreciate the sentiment." I closed my box with finality. As I walked out of Brandcore's sleek glass headquarters for the last time, access card surrendered and personal belongings balanced in my arms, I paused in the plaza to look back at the building where I'd spent 14 years of my career. On the top floor, I could see the executive conference room lit up for a Friday evening strategy session, silhouettes gesturing around the table, likely discussing how to redistribute my responsibilities among younger, less experienced, and significantly less expensive staff. Little did they know that in less than 72 hours, that same room would be hosting an emergency crisis management meeting instead. Monday morning dawned with perfect clarity, both in the cloudless blue sky and in my sense of purpose. I dressed carefully in my new navy power suit with subtle pinstripes, an outfit I'd purchased specifically for this day, the tailoring impeccable and the fabric quality a notch above what I'd typically worn at Brandcore. I applied my makeup with precision, the woman in the mirror looking confident and formidable. The Market Edge town car arrived precisely at 7:30 a.m., the driver professional and courteous as he held the door. The leather seats were cool and comfortable as we glided through morning traffic toward their headquarters in the prestigious Westview Business District. Today I would begin my role as Chief Marketing Innovation Officer, a title that acknowledged both my creative and strategic contributions. The press release went live at 7 a.m. sharp, James informed me as his executive assistant showed me into my new corner office. The space was impressive, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a commanding view of the city skyline, modern furniture that balanced aesthetics and functionality, and a sleek desktop setup with dual monitors. A tasteful arrangement of flowers sat on the credenza with a welcome card signed by the executive team. James handed me a tablet displaying the announcement. Marketing journals and industry newsletters are already picking it up. I've got the communications team monitoring reactions across all channels. The early responses are exactly what we hoped for. Monday morning continues. The announcement had been crafted with strategic precision, each word carefully chosen for maximum impact. Market Edge acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary customer segmentation methodology. Welcomes creator Olivia Harrison as Chief Marketing Innovation Officer. The press release detailed my background, emphasized my role as the sole developer of the now patented methodology, and outlined how Market Edge would be integrating my segmentation model into their next generation of marketing platforms and client services. Most importantly, it clearly stated that any company currently using the methodology would need to negotiate licensing agreements with Market Edge moving forward, a pointed message aimed directly at one company in particular. At precisely 9:15 a.m., my phone lit up with the first text from my former team at BrandCore. Complete meltdown happening here. The executive floor is in chaos. What did you do? It was from Noah, my senior marketing manager, whose analytical mind had always made him my most trusted lieutenant. I smiled, feeling a warm satisfaction spread through me as I typed back, "Check your personal email. All 6 of you have offers waiting. Competitive packages, senior positions, and a work environment that values experience." Meanwhile, across town at BrandCore's headquarters, the scheduled Monday morning executive meeting was undergoing a dramatic transformation from routine to crisis management. According to Noah's play-by-play updates throughout the morning, Bradley had arrived at the office to find the company's general counsel and chief financial officer waiting outside his corner office, both wearing expressions that Noah described as funeral faces. The industry announcement had hit their inboxes simultaneously with major clients' concerned inquiries, setting off immediate alarms. By 9:30 a.m., what should have been a routine start-of-week revenue projection meeting had morphed into an emergency crisis session. Board members were dialing in remotely, their voices crackling with tension over the speakerphone. The legal team was frantically reviewing my employment contract and scrambling to locate any documentation related to the customer segmentation model's development timeline. "They're pulling every file with your name on it," Noah reported in his next update. "Claire just ordered IT to recover all your archived emails and project documentation. Someone's wheeling in storage boxes from the records room labeled Marketing Analytics 2018 to 2023. Bradley looks like he's about to have a stroke." I could picture the scene perfectly, Bradley pacing the glass-walled conference room in his bespoke suit, his carefully maintained Silver Fox composure cracking as he demanded explanations from Claire and the legal department. His face would be flushed with anger, the vein in his temple pulsing as he realized the implications. The stock would already be responding to the news, investors hated uncertainty, and the announcement had created plenty of it. At 10:45 a.m., my new company email pinged with a message from Bradley himself, the desperation practically emanating from my screen despite his attempt at a casual tone. "Olivia, there appears to be a significant misunderstanding regarding our marketing methodologies. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss a mutually beneficial resolution." I forwarded it to MarketEdge's legal team without responding, adding only a brief note, "as anticipated. Proceeding as discussed." By noon, the marketing industry was buzzing with speculation across every channel. BrandCore's stock had dropped 9% since the market opened, while Market Edge had seen a 14% increase. 3 different marketing journals had already requested exclusive interviews about the strategic coup that had shaken the digital marketing landscape. My LinkedIn profile had seen over 2,000 views in just 4 hours. "How are you feeling?" James asked, stopping by my office, leaning against the doorframe with a satisfied expression. "Validated," I replied honestly, swiveling in my ergonomic chair to face the city view. 14 years of watching others take credit for my work, of being told I should be grateful just to have a seat at the table because women my age are typically phasing out of the industry. And now, finally, recognition. I couldn't keep the emotion from my voice, not anger, but the profound relief of vindication. James nodded. "Well-deserved recognition. The marketing world is going to be talking about this case study for years." My new executive assistant, Melissa, appeared at the door with a tablet in hand. "Ms. Harrison, the creative team is ready for you in the main conference room for the quarterly strategy presentation." She hesitated, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Also, Brandcore's CEO has called 4 times in the last hour. His assistant sounds increasingly desperate. Please let him know I'm in strategic meetings all day," I replied calmly, gathering my presentation materials. "I'll have our legal team reach out to discuss licensing options later this week. Also, can you order lunch for the team? This meeting might run long." As I walked toward my first strategy meeting as Chief Marketing Innovation Officer, my phone buzzed with another update from Noah. Emergency board meeting called for 3 p.m. Bradley looks like he's about to pop a blood vessel. Legal team is in full panic mode. P.S. All 6 of us accept your offers. When can we start? This place is becoming unbearable by the minute. Tuesday developments. By Tuesday morning, the full impact of my departure had become painfully clear to everyone at Brandcore. Their flagship marketing suite relied entirely on my segmentation model to deliver the targeted client insights that gave them their competitive edge. Without licensing rights to my patents and copyrights, they faced 2 equally unpalatable options: negotiate with Market Edge for usage rights, or rebuild their core methodology from scratch, a process that would take years and millions in development costs, assuming they could even find the talent capable of replicating it. Bradley has called an all-hands meeting for 2 p.m., Noah texted just after lunch. It was his last day at Brandcore. He and the rest of my former team would be starting at Market Edge the following Monday. The calendar invitation says company strategy update, but word around the office is they're going to announce legal action against you and Market Edge. Claire's been locked in Bradley's office with the legal team all morning. I forwarded his message to our legal department, who responded almost immediately, as expected. "Let them try. Your documentation is impeccable, development timelines, personal equipment usage logs, off-hours work records, all clearly established and notarized. We've prepared extensively for this scenario." Their posturing is just that, posturing. Meanwhile, I was settling into my new role with remarkable ease, the transition feeling like stepping from shadow into sunlight. The respect I received at Market Edge was a stark contrast to my final years at Brandcore. When I spoke in meetings, people actually took notes. My insights weren't repackaged by younger male colleagues and presented as revolutionary new approaches. My decades of experience were viewed as invaluable assets rather than indicators of obsolescence. The implementation team is already integrating your enhanced segmentation framework, James informed me during our afternoon briefing in his office overlooking the city skyline. Early testing with focus group data shows a 43% improvement in prediction accuracy for luxury sector clients, even better than we projected in the acquisition proposal. I had several refinements I never shared with Brandcore, I admitted, unable to suppress a small, satisfied smile. After I discovered that transition plan email thread about my position, I saw no reason to give them my latest innovations. The enhancements to the demographic weighting algorithms alone make the previous version look primitive by comparison. James chuckled appreciatively. Their loss, our gain. That's what happens when companies value youth over substance. He pulled up a report on his tablet and slid it across the desk to me. Speaking of which, the first licensing inquiry came in this morning. Not from Brandcore yet, they're still in denial mode, but from Westfield Group. Their CMO is worried about being caught in the crossfire if they continue using Brandcore's platform. Tuesday developments continue, their loss, our gain, James replied with a self-assured smile, leaning back in his chair. The marketing world changes fast, but experience still matters. Speaking of which, the business development team has already received 3 licensing inquiries since this morning. Not from Brandcore yet, they're still in denial phase, but from competitors like Westfield Group and Vision Media. They're worried about legal exposure if they continue using methodologies that might infringe on our newly acquired patents. At 3:30 p.m., Noah sent a detailed account of Bradley's all-hands meeting, complete with timestamps and direct quotes. The CEO had tried desperately to project confidence, striding around the presentation area in his expensive Italian suit, assuring the staff that Brandcore would vigorously defend our proprietary marketing methodology that has been core to our success. But according to Noah, the anxiety in the room had been thick enough to cut with a knife. Several employees had already quietly updated their LinkedIn profiles, sensing the company's vulnerability. You should have seen Claire's face, Noah reported. She turned ghost white when someone from the analytics team asked point-blank if they'd failed to secure proper copyright and patent protection. Bradley stumbled through some corporate jargon about ongoing legal protections and then abruptly ended the Q&A. People were whispering in the hallways before the meeting even finished. Wednesday developments. By Wednesday, the industry fallout had intensified dramatically, spreading across marketing circles like wildfire. 3 major clients, including a Fortune 100 retailer, had contacted MarketEdge directly about switching from Brandcore's platform, expressing concerns about service continuity without the methodology's creator at the helm. Our stock had risen another 11% by closing bell, while Brandcore's continued its steady decline, triggering automatic trading circuit breakers twice during the day. Shortly after lunch, my assistant notified me of an incoming call from Brandcore. "It's Vanessa Mitchell from HR," she said with a knowing look. The same woman who had slid my severance package across the table with mechanical efficiency just days earlier was now requesting to speak with me personally. I took a deep breath and accepted the call, putting it on speaker. "This is Olivia Harrison." "Olivia," she began, her voice carefully modulated to project professional calm, though I could detect the underlying tension. "I'm calling to discuss the, situation with your customer segmentation methodology. We believe there may have been a misunderstanding about ownership rights and intellectual property developed during your tenure." "I don't think there's any misunderstanding, Vanessa," I replied evenly, absently smoothing the sleeve of my silk blouse. "My employment agreement clearly states that intellectual property developed on my own time, using my personal resources, remains mine exclusively. The copyright and patent documentation confirms precisely that timeline and ownership." My attorneys were quite thorough. There was a brief pause, the sound of papers shuffling. "Bradley was hoping you might consider coming in personally to discuss options. Perhaps over lunch? He mentioned your favorite restaurant, Maison Azure?" The transparent attempt at appealing to personal connection almost made me laugh. Bradley wouldn't know my favorite restaurant if his life depended on it. "Any discussions would need to go through MarketEdge's legal department now," I responded coolly. I'm sure they'd be happy to set up a meeting to discuss licensing terms. I believe our chief counsel has already reached out with preliminary options. The silence on the other end spoke volumes about the state of panic at brand core. Finally, Vanessa sighed, the sound of defeat unmistakable even through the phone line. I'll pass that along. That afternoon, I led my first formal presentation to MarketEdge's board of directors, outlining our marketing innovation roadmap with my segmentation methodology as its centerpiece. The boardroom was impressive modernist design with actual artwork on the walls, not the generic corporate prints brand core favored. As I stood confidently at the head of the polished table, not relegated to the middle seats as I had been at brand core, I caught James's approving nod from the opposite end. The migration path for existing clients will be seamless, I explained, clicking through my meticulously designed presentation slides. And the enhanced demographic weighting system will dramatically improve conversion rates across all market sectors, particularly in the luxury and financial services verticals where traditional approaches have struggled. The board members leaned forward, engaged and attentive in a way I hadn't experienced in years. No one was checking phones or whispering to neighbors. They were actually listening to a woman over 50 with decades of marketing expertise. The novelty of it almost made me stumble mid-sentence. Friday developments. By Friday, just 1 week after I had walked out of brand core's glass doors for the last time, the company had entered full crisis mode. Their stock had plummeted 26% from Monday's opening bell, triggering automatic calls from major investors and prompting an emergency shareholder call. Industry analysts were publishing increasingly dire assessments with headlines like "Can brand core survive the segmentation crisis?" and "How one strategic blunder may fundamentally reshape the digital marketing landscape." Through my extensive industry network, relationships cultivated over decades that Bradley had never appreciated, I learned that Bradley had finally acknowledged the severity of the situation to the board in a closed-door session that reportedly involved significant shouting. Brand core would need to either license my segmentation methodology from MarketEdge, likely at premium rates that would devastate their profit margins, or undertake a complete rebuild of their analytics framework without using any methodology covered by my patents and copyrights. They've started recruiting a new analytics team, Noah informed me during our Friday video call, where we discussed his team's upcoming transition to MarketEdge. His home office backdrop featured half-packed moving boxes. Bradley's making wild claims that they can recreate the entire segmentation framework in 4 months. The marketing director from their Tokyo office actually laughed out loud on the global call. I couldn't help but laugh myself, the absurdity too rich to contain. The original methodology took me 3 years to develop and test properly, and that was with intimate knowledge of the market variables and data architecture. Exactly, Noah agreed, his expression a mixture of amusement and vindication. Nobody with any technical knowledge is believing the timeline, especially after all 6 of us submitted our resignations simultaneously yesterday. The knowledge exodus is catastrophic for them. Claire had to excuse herself from the management meeting when she heard we were all leaving together. That afternoon, brand core's outside counsel finally reached out to MarketEdge to initiate dialogue about potential licensing arrangements. The email's tone was noticeably different from Bradley's earlier message, formal, direct, and devoid of the condescending familiarity he typically employed. Our legal team, following the strategy we had meticulously developed, responded with terms that were technically fair but strategically devastating, 3 times the standard industry licensing rate, plus a public acknowledgement of my role as the methodology's original creator. They'll fight the acknowledgement far more than the cost, James predicted as we reviewed the response in his corner office, the city skyline darkening into twilight behind him. Bradley's ego won't allow him to publicly admit he pushed out the very person who created their core competitive advantage. His entire leadership persona is built around being the visionary who drives innovation. Then they'll have to rebuild from scratch, I replied, feeling oddly calm about the company's impending struggle. And every day they spend trying to replicate my work is another day we extend our lead in the market. The following Monday morning, 10 days after my unceremonious dismissal over expensive lattes, I led the first innovation strategy meeting with my newly assembled team, which included Noah, Sophia, and the other 4 marketing specialists from Brand Core. The energy in our sleek conference room was electric, a palpable sense of possibility and validation that had been absent in our previous workplace. "This is how strategy meetings should be," commented Sophia, her eyes bright with enthusiasm as she reviewed the preliminary market research results. At Brand Core, we spent half our time explaining basic marketing concepts to executives who were too busy checking their phones to actually listen. "That's the fundamental difference," I replied, looking around at the engaged faces of my team. "Between being valued as experts and being seen as replaceable resources. Here, your expertise isn't just recognized, it's the foundation of our competitive advantage." Leadership changes. As we wrapped up the productive session, Melissa appeared at the conference room door, her expression indicating important news. "Ms. Harrison, there's been a significant development at Brand Core. Their board just announced an emergency leadership change. Bradley Wilson is stepping down as CEO, effective immediately." The news rippled through our meeting room like an electric current. I maintained my composure, but couldn't help the flutter of vindication in my chest. Actions, as they say, have consequences. The news spread through the marketing industry like wildfire. Within hours, trade publications and business journals were reporting that Brand Core's board had lost confidence in Bradley's leadership following the intellectual property oversight that had threatened the company's flagship marketing platform. Claire Reynolds was also out, along with the head of legal who had failed to properly secure copyright and patent protections for my methodology. That evening, as I sat in my home office reviewing candidate profiles for our expanding analytics team, I received an unexpected email. The sender, Daniel Morrison, Brand Core's newly appointed interim CEO. Unlike Bradley's desperate message from the previous week, this one was straightforward, professional, and notably respectful. "Ms. Harrison, congratulations on your well-deserved new position. I've been brought in to help Brand Core navigate the current situation and chart a more sustainable path forward. I'd like to discuss a fair licensing arrangement for your patented segmentation methodology. We're prepared to acknowledge your contributions publicly and make appropriate amends for the oversights of previous management. Would you be available to meet next week to discuss terms in person?" I forwarded the email to James, adding a simple note, "Phase 1 complete." His reply came within minutes, beautifully executed. "The board is celebrating your first major victory for Market Edge. Looks like Brand Core is finally learning an expensive lesson about valuing experience and innovation. This is just the beginning." 3 months later, 3 months after my departure from Brand Core, I sat on the stage at the National Marketing Innovation Summit, preparing to deliver the keynote address. The grand ballroom was filled with industry leaders, marketing journalists, brand strategists, and ambitious young professionals, many of whom now knew my story. The buzz of conversation had a certain electricity to it. People weren't just here for marketing insights, they were here to see the woman who had upended an industry giant. "And now I'm pleased to introduce our keynote speaker," the conference organizer announced, her voice carrying through the sophisticated sound system. "Olivia Harrison, Chief Marketing Innovation Officer at Market Edge and creator of the revolutionary customer segmentation methodology that has transformed targeted marketing across multiple industries." The applause was substantial and sustained as I approached the podium, the spotlight warm on my face. What a difference a few months could make. Last year, I had attended this same conference as part of the brand core delegation, seated in the back row while Bradley gave a self-congratulatory presentation about his company's marketing innovations, including my segmentation model, which he'd referred to only as our proprietary analytics framework. "Thank you," I began, surveying the attentive faces before me, many lit by the blue glow of recording devices. Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and the importance of properly valuing intellectual contributions, regardless of where or whom they come from. My presentation detailed the technical aspects of my segmentation methodology, with compelling case studies showing real-world applications, but also addressed the broader issues of recognition and respect in the marketing sector. Without directly mentioning brand core, I emphasized the importance of companies nurturing and protecting their innovators rather than treating them as interchangeable or, worse, disposable resources. Age brings perspective, experience brings wisdom, and diversity brings innovation, I concluded. When companies fail to recognize that, they don't just lose talent, they lose their future. Afterward, during the networking reception, several young women marketing professionals approached me seeking advice and mentorship. One of them, perhaps 30, with bright eyes and ambitious energy, confided, "Your story changed how I approach my work. I've started documenting all my creative processes and keeping detailed logs of campaign development done on personal time." "Smart move," I replied, genuinely pleased to have made such an impact. "Your innovations deserve protection, and so do you." As the evening concluded, I checked my phone to find an industry news alert that made me smile. Brand Core had finally announced the licensing agreement with Market Edge, acknowledging me by name as the original creator of their segmentation methodology. Their stock had stabilized after weeks of volatility, though at a significantly lower valuation than before my departure. 1 year later, 1 year to the day after being told to clean out my desk over coffee, I sat in my expansive office at Market Edge, reviewing the quarterly innovation report. The afternoon sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a golden glow over the space I had made my own, with modern art on the walls and a small collection of industry awards on my credenza. Under my leadership, the company had released 3 groundbreaking marketing platforms built on my segmentation model, capturing significant market share from Brand Core and other competitors. A knock at my door interrupted my analysis. James entered with a vintage bottle of champagne and 2 crystal flutes. "Happy anniversary," he said, setting the glasses on my desk with a warm smile. "The board asked me to share this news with you personally before the public announcement tomorrow morning. Market Edge has officially surpassed Brand Core in market valuation for the first time in company history. Your leadership has been the defining factor." I smiled, feeling not triumph, but a profound sense of validation and quiet satisfaction. That's what happens when you value experience and innovation properly. When you recognize that creativity doesn't expire at 40. As James poured the champagne, Melissa arrived with a sleek cream envelope on a silver tray. Inside was an elegant invitation to deliver the opening address at Women in Marketing's annual Leadership Summit. The topic, Owning Your Intellectual Value, How Proper Documentation Changed an Industry. "You've become something of an icon in marketing circles," James commented, noticing the invitation. The story of the executive who didn't recognize what he had until it was gone has become a cautionary tale taught in business schools. I heard Harvard Business Review is doing a case study. Daniel Morrison, who had remained as Brand Core's CEO after stabilizing the crisis, had implemented sweeping changes in how the company recognized and rewarded innovation. Their new creative rights protection program and talent retention initiatives were reportedly modeled after the framework I had established at Market Edge, a framework that valued expertise regardless of age or gender. "It was never about revenge," I said, raising my glass in a toast, the afternoon light catching the bubbles in a cascade of tiny prisms. It was about recognition. About showing the industry that innovation isn't anonymous or ageless. It comes from real people with real experience who deserve real credit. To proper recognition, James agreed, clinking his glass against mine. And to the wisdom that comes with experience. As we sipped the champagne, I took a moment to reflect on my journey. At 54, I had finally found what had eluded me throughout my career, not just success, but acknowledgement. My name was now permanently attached to the methodology that had transformed an industry, exactly where it belonged. More importantly, I had created a path for others to follow, women who wouldn't have to fight quite as hard for the recognition they deserved. The setting sun cast long shadows across my office, but unlike a year ago, I faced the future with nothing but light ahead.